Renee here with Joy for the Journey. Today we're going to talk about how I teach writing to my first grader and also how writing will be developed as he grows and how you might develop writing as your child grows. So we're going to refer to the way I teach my son as writing workshop. Now, in the other video, part 1, I talked about draw right now. So right now I'm doing a combination of copy work and independent writing, or the writing workshop kind of style. But we're going to just focus on writing workshop and how I have taught that on its own, not using copy work as the main way to teach it or to teach writing. So basically for my son in kindergarten and first grade, I would have a topic that we were interested in or learning about as part of a unit study. So when we did an American symbols unit study, each week we would learn about a different American symbol. So we'd read books about it, and then we would use those ideas in our writing. And so there would be some talking, or, I guess you could call it brainstorming. And what I would do is each day have him add on so that by the end of the week, he wrote about one American symbol. So let's say the first one was the American flag, and we read one or more books about it and gained some ideas. And the first day of the week on Monday, he would write his topic sentence. So a topic sentence would be an introductory sentence. His was, "This is our American flag." Then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, he'd write detail sentences. So that would end up being 3. So he wrote, "It has 13 stripes." Let's see, to remember the 13 colonies. And he wrote some extra details. "The stars stand for the 50 states. And for his closing on Thursday or Friday, I feel proud of our flag." At this age, especially, I kept it really simple. A topic sentence was kind of just stating in some way what it was going to be about. The details were just straightforward, and the ending was usually how they felt about it. At this age, it's the easiest way. I like, I love, I think, I feel, those types of things. And so in a day you have one sentence, and in a week you have 5, and it's a nice little paragraph, and you've written some good ideas about a topic, and you've learned a lot. So then we would put all the different weeks together into a book. So we had Statue of Liberty, the White House, we back up, the bald eagle, the Liberty Bell, and of course the flag. Now, each day, what did that look like? He would either have guided writing, where I'd sit right next to him and be talking with him and helping him. I call that guided, when you're helping them with their writing, where you're trying to let them do it independently, but you're scaffolding, helping them as needed. Some days it would look more like dictation. He needed a bit more support, and so I would kind of out loud voice some ideas. Maybe you'd have a graphic organizer where you brainstorm together, or maybe it's just orally, especially when it's just your child. It's a lot more informal than when I taught in the public school. So another strategy would be copy work. Sometimes they're having a day where they're really struggling, and that topic sentence, they're just having trouble getting it out there. So you say, let's copy the copy sentence down. Tell me what you want to say, or let me suggest to you this, and you write it down, and they copy it down. And maybe the next day they can independently write that detailed sentence on Tuesday. So there was a combination of guided or dictation, where you're dictating some ideas to them or helping them go back to the text you read and say, let's look in the book, and what could we write, looking at the pictures and the words, or just helping provide some of those ideas or choices. So that's kind of guided or dictation. And again, that's a strategy, or you could use the copywork strategy. And those are really helpful for a child in those younger years especially. Then after he wrote independently a lot of the time, or with guidance, we would go through and use a checklist or just talk about his writing. And we would always keep it very positive and celebrate. So when he would finish, especially most days, he would just be like, okay, I want to go write. He would write, And he's like, okay, Mom, close your eyes. I'd open them, get really excited. I would make a big deal out of it, read it, get excited about it, act like I'm passing out, maybe spin him around and say, you're a writer, things like that. Get really excited. And then we would talk about his sentences and just do a quick edit. Maybe he had some backwards letters or things like that, or used a capital in the wrong places. But this is the main things we would look for. Did he use capitals and periods? Start with a capital letter, that's your green light, and with a period or the proper punctuation, that's your red light. Did I put finger spaces? Okay, we got the green light, red light method going on. Let's think about cars. The words are like cars. We need spaces between cars so they don't crash. We need spaces between words so they don't crash, so they make sense. So he would get a circle for having the capitals and periods, and he'd get the eyeball of the smiley face. By the way, this is called smiley face sentences. I got this off the internet. Okay, so capitals, periods, finger spaces. Did I spell sight words correctly? So sight words are those words that don't always follow the phonics pattern. So there might be certain words that you provide on like a little word wall that they can copy, or that you tell them, like, oh, Mom, how do you spell this word? And you would tell them, and eventually they get to know those words, especially in kindergarten. Those words like the, T-H-E, they just, have it pretty quickly, or they can refer to this little word wall where you write words they might need frequently. And they should spell other words correctly too, but again, at this age, we don't expect everything to be spelled perfectly in this method of teaching writing. It's not copy work. If they are doing some independent writing and you're walking away, you could expect to come back to some errors. And if it's spelled phonetically and it's too stressful, we leave some things that are developmentally appropriate, and other things we might draw attention to, say, oh, great job. That does seem like it would be spelled that way. Do you think that there's a missing sound, and help them hear the missing sound of the word? We're going to teach them how to properly spell the word if you feel like it's a good teaching opportunity. So they'd have their circle, they'd have their eyeball, they'd have their two eyeballs for spelled correctly, and then to get the smiley face, my writing is neat and I tried my best. And then I wrote my name on my paper. They get a little hat. Sometimes we'd add a birthday cake if he wrote his date, or for some other things. This was something he really liked. I had some other checklists, but this was the one he liked the most. So every day he would write one or more sentences. If he was really into it, awesome, he'd just keep writing. And if he wasn't, that was our minimum, at least one sentence a day to get to that 5-sentence paragraph by Friday. So it worked pretty well for us. We enjoyed it, but we are taking a break and mostly using the copywork method with some independent writing at the end. There's a little question at the end of the copywork, and he reads it. We do a little research to answer it if necessary, and then he writes a sentence to answer the question. So there's a combination of copywork and independent writing happening, but we're still doing, we don't necessarily open this up, but we still, he kind of knows these things, but we'll go through and talk about his writing, make sure he did these things and can edit his writing a little bit each day. This is the folder I use, and I got this idea in my teaching years from another teacher. You put a green star or sticker on the pocket. If they're still working on that piece, it goes in that pocket for green light go. And then in the back pocket is red light. When they finish the piece, it goes in here. And that's where it's helpful if you're developing a little book over a month-long unit. We're done with, the flag writing. You put that in the red sticker pocket. And maybe that week you're working on, the bald eagle or the Liberty Bell. You go ahead and keep putting the sheet back in the green light pocket each day after you're done with that day's work, so that you can pick up on it tomorrow. That is how I do the writing workshop method. And I want to talk to you about how that will develop and grow over time. So in writing workshop, there is a big emphasis on students developing their own writing. There's some key skills they're gaining. They're learning how to focus, organize, have voice, good conventions or grammar, and word choice. Let's talk about each one of those. Focus. They're learning how to be on topic. That's important. They're learning how to stay on a topic, and they're learning how to develop ideas in a way that is communicating very well that topic. Organization. They're learning how to make their writing organized. So in this stage, it's just that topic sentence, those detail sentences, and that simple closing that might just be how you feel about it or your opinion at the end. So I put my hand on my heart. How do you feel, your opinion? But as they get older, what could that look like? Instead of just one little sentence for your introduction, it could be your introductory paragraph or your thesis statement in college. And then, for the right now, it's just, 2 or 3 detailed sentences in the middle. You have the sandwich of writing or paragraph. But later on, each one of those detailed sentences could be 3 separate paragraphs, really going into depth about each of those details or portions. And then that conclusive sentence or that I feel or I think sentence could suddenly become a whole closing paragraph. You're summarizing and stating the most important things. So that 5-sentence paragraph one day develops into a 5-paragraph essay, and maybe by high school or college you have, a research paper that's, 5 for 15 pages. They might not ever need to write that much, but you can see the direction that it goes. So writing workshop, those were the skills, focus, organization, voice, conventions, word choice. We talked about organization. Another thing I want to mention about organization is transition words. They'll learn, how to organize, not just having, your introduction, your details, your closing, and other things, but transition words like first, next, last, finally, it all started when, those types of ways to lead people in. And it's very simplistic and very, simple at that age. And then they learn how to develop into voice. Let's talk about that next. Voice. That's when we're using personality. You can read something by a certain author and know that's this author because you learn their writing style. So they're developing a style. And I sort of like to more voice and word choice together a little bit. So I sometimes could just say voice is also when you're using those colorful words or adjectives, making your writing come alive. But others would separate those and say, okay, that's called word choice when you're, choosing the best words possible, and adding adjectives and, finding synonyms to choose, a better word for that word that you were thinking of using. So it's not boring or repetitive. Okay, conventions, that's grammar. Do my sentences make sense? Am I, following the rules of grammar? Am I using punctuation properly? Am I spelling words correctly? And again, word choice could be a separate thing or kind of, to me, flow with voice. Another thing in writing workshop I like is that students are exploring a variety of genres. So they might really be interested in one genre, and that's great, but sometimes they're dipping their hand into different genres. Can they write a narrative, a personal narrative about themselves, a story? Can they write a narrative, a fictional narrative about, animals or other things, imaginative things? Can they, write an opinion piece or a persuasive piece? Can they write to explain? Can they do explanatory writing? How to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or how to tie your shoe, or how to do this or that? Can they do expository, or can they research and write on a topic? And I think the most common ones are those opinion writing. I saw a lot in my public school days, and I saw a lot of mostly the writing to explain or research about just a simple topic. And then some narratives. Of course, you can dip into other genres like writing poetry and so on and so forth. So writing workshop opens up a lot of creativity, and you can blend in some of the benefits of other methods like copy work, dictation, and guided writing that really helps support that student and kind of meet them right where they're at. So that's how we do it, and that's kind of my thought of how it will develop as my son grows older. I hope that was helpful.